Hello and welcome to today's Delivering Better Managed Security Services at Higher Margins webcast. I'm your host, Mike Vizard, and as always, we've got some great content being delivered by a highly knowledgeable speaker. But first, we need to go over some housekeeping rules. First off, on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar with some icons. These icons allow you to do certain things. For example, if you need to adjust your volume, click on the media player icon. When you're done, click on it again to hide the media player window. We also invite you to get social. This webinar allows you to take full advantage of social networking. If at any time during our session today you hear something interesting, feel free to tweet it to your followers. Your tweet will automatically contain a URL to the event. If at any time you experience audio difficulties or issues advancing the slides, simply press what I call the magic F5 key to refresh your webinar console. Feel free to customize your webcast console. You can move windows around by dragging on the title bar or resize your windows by clicking on the lower right corner of any window. Finally, I would also encourage you all to ask questions at any time during the webcast. Simply type your question into the box at the bottom of your screen. We're going to be addressing as many questions as we can throughout the webcast, so don't wait to send in your question. Now, let's get to today's Delivering Better Managed Security Services at Higher Margin webcast. We're going to discuss today issues that are at the near and dear to just about every MSP there is. Those topics include the true cost of downtime, factors driving increased demand for managed services, what MSPs need to focus on to successfully compete, and finally, the critical role unified network analytics plays in delivering managed services. Our speaker today is Mike Reinhardt, Product Marketing Manager for Accelops. He's in charge of helping businesses better understand the value of having a single tool for unified network analytics. So Mike, from there, take us away.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks everybody for attending and taking time out of your day. I hope this is going to be a useful presentation for you. We've got a lot of information to cover. I'll try to do it in the 30-minute time slot and then I'll allow you to have some time for questions and answers at the end. I'd like to start with a poll just to help people give me a reference as to where you're coming from, where your head's at in terms of what is interesting to you. I'm going to push a quick poll to the audience. If you take just a few minutes to time to answer that, that'll help me in framing the discussion going forward. If I had some Jeopardy music, I'd be playing that at this moment, but I do not, but I do appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. So again, you should be seeing a poll on your screen. If you would just take a moment to click one of the radio buttons that most represents your area of interest, that will be helpful moving forward. Can I take just about 10 more seconds and close the poll? And let's see what we have. So what best describes your area of interest? Looks like we've got a large component of already people that are already offering managed security services or those that are considering this. So this is good, actually. Some of the studies that I've compiled here in the deck relate to some studies specific to those industries. And those are the general educational interest. Hopefully we'll get all your questions answered in the same time frame. So I'm going to start with a survey that Gartner did with current and or emerging MSP business companies as to some of the things that were impeding them from being successful. This was a study they did over the past 2 years of 200 individual companies. There was actually 10 total results. I've selected 3 because these seem to be the most common ones that we hear from our own customers in things that are impacting their ability to be successful. So I'm sure it's no surprise to any of you in this business today, the competition is becoming fiercer and fiercer in the managed service market. It's becoming saturated and almost stagnant in certain cases. Commoditization is being impacting your margins. Value-added differentiating services are really critical to protect and improve your profitability. There's also new buyers. It's not just the IT personnel or the security personnel that are making the buying decisions, and we'll talk about some of the things driving that. But each of the MSP respondents knew they had to change because their current model wasn't sustainable, and they were really looking for Gartner to give them a hand as to where best to focus their efforts some of the strategic things they ought to be doing in their business, both to continue their existing base, but also to grow revenues in their company. So Gartner's recommendation was really to move from an implementer and maintainer out of the break-fix model more into a trusted business advisor. Go beyond your IT. Look at ways that you can help a business do things like brand protection, customer record privacy protection, customer experience management, impacts you can have on employee productivity or business productivity, business process optimization, and then really tying your messaging to those common themes in your articulation of what it is that you offer a business. This not only helps you to retain existing customers, which is really critical to your success, but also opens up additional opportunities for you to grow revenues in other areas, both in targeting your base and upselling to them, but also adding a new mix of customers or target market for your offerings. So some of the things that are opportunities that are driving these new areas of opportunity for MSPs one of them is a concept called bimodal IT that Gartner has coined, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Distributed enterprises and users is becoming more and more common, and also the evolving threat landscape is continuing to change and morph and create many challenges for businesses today. So let's focus on the opportunity trends as it relates to bimodal IT. This is really a term that Gartner has coined, but mode one primarily is the traditional IT personnel that you've dealt with in the past. They're really focused on control, reliability, predictability. They're getting capital expenditure budgets for long-term decision-making processes. While as the mode two is really focused on keeping pace or staying ahead of all the changing needs that are coming at them, both from the individual users in their network. Customer demands are completely different than they used to be and continue to change as multiple devices and multiple sources of information are available to them. If they can't get what they need through IT, the mode two buyers will typically either go around the IT department and purchase things themselves and create some really challenges that the IT department wasn't prepared to deal with, or they'll go through IT and let them know that they're doing it, but IT still doesn't have the tools to manage that. Service offerings that provide insights into the current network and performance trends, security and compliance, and in support of customer experience management and personnel and productivity really could help you differentiate your offering against just the IT needs for predictable, reliable alone. The other thing is distributed resources that we're seeing more and more as millennials come onto the network as users as well as employees. They expect to work remotely, work at times of days and days a week that's important to them. This now becomes an HR issue or a management problem. You've got M&A activity bringing new sites and locations that bring either hardware or software or cloud devices into the network that weren't originally planned with your overall scheme of things, and you need to be nimble enough to deal with that as it comes at you. BYOD, we read a lot about that. More and more mobile devices are replacing things like phones and desktops. Many companies like Apogee, for example, uses only iPhones for their business phones as well as their computers. So this again creates opportunities, but it's also threats to businesses' ability to manage a productive office environment and really unable to protect their customer experience management as well as their employees' productivity. And the last thing we'll talk about is the opportunities that the growing and ever-evolving threats that are coming onto the market. Again, with BYOD, you've got many apps that are now a part of a corporate infrastructure, the Internet of Things, there's new hacking sources, and all are real and growing potential sources for security and compliance breaches. So I'm going to jump into another quick poll just to kind of gauge where you think your customers might be concerned. This was a poll that Black Cat recently did. I'm sorry, I skipped one slide. Let me go back one second. The future threat concerns. Black Hat polled an audience of about 500 IT professionals and asked them, over the next 2 years, where do you believe will be the greatest concerns of security and threats to your business. And the slide you're currently seeing is a result of that. So digital attacks, Internet of Things is a huge concern for most businesses. Sophisticated attacks coming directly at the organization. And also cloud services are becoming more and more on the radar as a potential source for security and compliance breaches. So given that, I wanted to go to the next slide, which is the poll. And then I'm just curious what you think the percent of the businesses that said that these were concerns of theirs, how many of them were ready for these trends coming at them over the next 2 years? So if you just take a few minutes just to look at the results, what percent of businesses thought they were ready for these particular trends coming in the next 2 years? Okay, let's take a look at the results. Well, you guys are pretty good. 27% was the actual answer. 73% said they had insufficient staff or were not properly staffed or able to handle these particular demands in the future. So they've got a lack of tools, lack of staff, lack of internal expertise. As we mentioned before, M&A activities are constantly changing the environment that they have to deal with. So as an MSP, there's a lot of must-haves to be able to leverage this opportunity to become a trusted advisor in helping these companies deal with these things in the future. So kind of the must-haves that we've seen from our MSP providers is the ability to support all infrastructure types, not just be focused on one particular element alone. To add value, you really need to have a broad structure of approach to how you manage and maintain both the network performance as well as the security and compliance across all devices, all network types. You also need the ability to quickly identify, repair, or remediate and prevent future issues from coming onto the network. And then the ability to integrate and monitor analytics from multiple sources and make sense of that data as it comes through to your network. So support for all infrastructure types. Companies are really concerned about private clouds, hybrid clouds, things that they hadn't had as part of their overall infrastructure in the past. Things like Salesforce.com and Google, Amazon Web Services, hypervisors that needed to be supported, hybrid clouds like Rackspace and VMware, their local networks. They've also got isolated DMZs that they need to integrate into that same analytics infrastructure. And then again, the remote offices, remote users becoming a part of the overall view. All of those are sources of data and analytics that need to be correlated and gathered as a MSP to make informed business decisions. So one of the things that we do pride ourselves on is the ability to work with all of the usual suspects in terms of our overall platform. And then moving on to the ability to quickly identify, fix, and prevent and remediate and additional impacts to the network. ExcelOps provides a single pane of glass to consolidate all that analytics data into a single platform to cross-correlate all the information that's coming in to much more rapidly identify issues on the network. And the alternative is really a console with multiple different applications running, multiple different people running those applications, and it becomes a much more difficult, unwieldy way of managing and monitoring a network when you've got disparate tools that don't talk to each other, don't cross-correlate. It becomes a huge challenge in businesses, so a really opportunity for you guys as MSPs. And then integrating all of that data is key. Again, the environment today is really multiple locations with multiple different tools that are monitoring the network, one for security, network monitoring tools, performance monitoring tools, all the changes happening on a network, keeping up your CMDB, and making sure that's current with all the things that are hitting your network, and all the application monitoring tools that are required. And those are either a swivel chair operation or managed by different personnel, different people, and potentially in different locations that takes a long time to get information pulled and determined where the sources of potential problems are. So this is where the value that ExcelOps really brings, is really pulling all of that together under a single unified platform that integrates that data, cross-correlates that data, and provides a simple single tool for rapid identification, rapid remediation, and the ability to quickly get rid of problems on the network so that those aren't experienced in the future. The other added value that ExcelOps brings to the world is not only the ability to integrate all these analytics sources, but to segment that as an MSP into different customer environments, whether those customer environments are in your own data centers or if they're remote locations that you want to tie together through a single platform into a single cluster. You've got a view and the ability to partition your individual customers to support them uniquely, individually, a much better management tool, really a multi-tenant architecture that really resonates with our current MSP tool environment. So we're the first to offer a single unified network analytics monitoring tool. And so really, what is the opportunity per Gartner? So going back to their study, that same study conducted with the 200 individuals looked at the market that they were targeting, information security markets planning to grow at 13.8% in just this year alone. The IT security outsourcing segment really recording the fastest growth at nearly 25%. So that's a huge opportunity for MSPs going forward in ways to differentiate your offering through tools that provide real business analytics into performance management, productivity management, customer experience management, really opening up areas where you can target additional buyers or additional people to help you with your story in selling to that environment. So sales managers, HR managers, as I mentioned before, people that are concerned about customer experience management, so even operations departments that may or may not be in your purview today are now potential advocates for your solution. So I've run through a bunch of material. I think we'll stop here to try to open it up for questions. We may have a few already.
Great, Mike. Thanks for the time and thanks for that insight. Our first question goes to somebody who wants to know whether or not you can actually simulate an environment, and how big an environment can you simulate? Can you get into the cloud? Can you get into on-premise? Or how far can you take this?
Yeah, we can simulate that as well as even putting it in live in a proof of concept scenario where we'll allow you to test the service over time to see how it interacts with your network. It automatically learns your CMDB and builds your CMD for you to go out and see what's connected to the network, no matter what the environment is. So you can actually use the tool in real life on your own network to get a sense of the power that it brings to your business.
All right, great. Reminder, I want to encourage everybody to ask as many questions as they can come up with. And moving to our next question is kind of an unusual question for one of these events, but one of our attendees wants to know what should he be looking for in the way of an MSP that he might want to acquire, since he's a newbie to the business. From your sense of it, what is a mature MSP that is a business that is worth being acquired versus maybe what we sometimes refer to as a someone's hobby or lifestyle business?
I guess it's probably going to be a subjective answer, and I think the audience might be able to answer this better than I, but I would target somebody that's got an existing base today that you can leverage in upselling additional managed services to what's already in place today. So you may be a break-fix type operation. You've got a kind of a target market that's already under your management that you can go back to with additional services that they desperately need, as the details that Gartner provided mentioned. These are solutions that they're all looking for today. So really a better message to say, hey, we can continue to do what we're doing today, and we've got these additional tools that help you do things across multiple departments, multiple lines of business beyond just IT and your security shop today.
Okay. Our next question goes to the notion of how far can I take the remediation process once I have the analytics in place, and and how desirable is it to automate? I guess the remediation is what the question kind of goes to.
Yeah, that's really going to be dependent on the network. I would suggest that we set up a demo with that person if they want to take a deeper look into that. We can show you some of the capabilities of the tool that we don't have time to cover today, but we definitely have some powerful stories around how we can help with that.
Yeah, in fact, some of our folks are asking for that demo, but I guess that would be a separate event from this one. I guess the next question I would go to is, you always hear MSPs worried about pricing, and because everybody's service is slightly different, does analytics help you kind of level set pricing a little bit in a way that makes the business a little more efficient, or what is the ultimate impact on the bottom line for the MSP?
Yeah, analytics really gives a deeper view into what's going on into the network. Again, network performance as well as security and compliance are all three components that are key to any business maintaining their position in the market. This tool provides sources from all three of those areas into a single platform. So really upping the value of the data that they can collect, and then the ability to quickly identify issues and sources much more faster than disparate solutions, because it's under a single umbrella that does a cross-correlation of all the components connected to the network for a much faster identification, and then the ability to remediate that quickly. Really knocks down hacks that are occurring faster, people entering the business that shouldn't be, network performance that may be impacting people's productivity. All those are, the faster you get the data, the more you can cross-correlate it, you can make more informed business decisions, and the bigger the value that you can bring to that business.
And to that end, does analytics also speak to the cost of labor for the MSP, which is always seems to me their highest cost factor? So am I really looking at analytics as a way to kind of maximize the workforce that I have in place?
Well, there's a number of areas where that question would really resonate. One is in the people that are actually monitoring and maintaining the network today. Again, you may have multiple systems for multiple process and operations views. Then you've got multiple personnel that are managing and maintaining that. They're typically highly skilled individuals that require training, and to the extent that you can reduce the number of those folks that you need on your network, reduce the complexity, reduces the cost per person that's managing that. But it also speaks to the ability to manage productivity within an organization. For example, if you've got things impacting your ability of your customers to get through to your network, to a salesperson, for example, or a help desk because of a DDoS attack, for example, your users aren't being productive, customers are getting upset, they may be looking for other suppliers to provide their needs that you hadn't thought about. So it really helps you make sure that the folks that are connected to the network are getting access to the right resources quickly and easily, and mitigating all the issues that might be impacting that.
One of our attendees is interested to know about the Security Information Event Management capabilities, or SIM, compared to, say, a full-boat standalone solution. Do you eliminate the need for that, or are you more complementary, or what are you guys thinking there?
Yeah, so I try to stay away from the technology or the terminology, but we are a SIM solutions provider, but we also add the additional capability of network performance monitoring and management, really managing your database of all the individual devices, individual users. It's really a bridge between those two environments that we offer. So we're SIM. We like to say tying together or bridging the NOC and the SOC under a single pane of glass.
Another one of our attendees wants to know, how big is your channel base at the moment, and how many partners do you have, and what's your goal? And I guess, the unstated part of that is, are you in danger of being over-distributed?
That's not a danger we currently have. The channel is relatively new to us. We've added that less than a year ago. It is a very fast-growing area for us. MSPs are again, everybody on the phone here knows that the commoditization of certain services is inevitable and has happened. Everybody's looking for ways to add additional value. So we're selling both to MSP providers in a way that they can repackage our product and resell it under their own umbrella, but we're also selling through them as a white label service. But it's a very fast-growing area for us. We've spent a lot of time in making sure that our channels are very successful. We've built a separate internal website for them. We want to get them up and productive quickly, so I highly encourage you to reach out to us on that side as well. That's a growing area for us currently.
All right, terrific. Do you think IT in general is getting simpler to manage or more complex, and how does that kind of play to the strengths of or weaknesses of the MSPs?
Yeah, I think it's probably getting a little more complex, again, going back to the Gartner bimodal arena. Things that you used to be able to control and maintain and regulate and have predictable results from are less and less the case in businesses today. Again, there's just, with the Internet of Things, there are so many devices, so many potential devices that are hitting network resources, mobile applications that are hitting network resources. All are somewhat predictable, but others are completely unpredictable, which creates a lot more complexity in an IT department in managing their end users' expectations. But it's also, again, to the line of businesses where you've got sales teams that are trying to answer phones or connected to a website. All those are, other areas of ways that customers getting into a business now have grown and continue to grow. Refrigerators can call grocery stores, et cetera. So I only see that growing in complexity and the need for tools to help manage and maintain that simply.
Right. But on the other side of that, the devices themselves are exposing more APIs, so it becomes simpler to invoke them or bring them into a managed framework. So it would seem to me it's kind of a plus-plus on both ends.
Absolutely.
One of our attendees wants you to kind of give a little more information about the portal you mentioned and how to get there and what's in it.
Yeah, I don't have the URL, but I'll be happy to push that out as part of our message back to the team on how to get to the internal channel website, but we do have that available. It is something that, again, we've spent a lot of time on. If you go to our YouTube channel, we do have a good overview from John Allen, who is our channel partner manager, and he's got some great overviews of the tools that are available today. But I'll make sure we get that information out to the team that's on the call today.
Great. Can you describe a little bit about what the cost of the service is, and maybe also what's the degree of difficulty in implementing the technology? I mean, do I have to be a rocket scientist to accomplish it?
Rocket scientist doesn't hurt, but it may be an impediment as well, though. That's actually very, very easy. I'm being a little coy, but it's very easy to set up, very easy to use. I've used the tool myself. I used the demo, been on board here 3 weeks now, and it's extremely simple to get to the details. If you're familiar with any analytics tool or device tools, provides the excellent mapping in terms of where the device is on the network, the IP addresses that it's going through and to. Very simple to implement and maintain. So we've got users that are relatively IT admins that are running the service today. It doesn't require a lot of detailed information to be an expert.
What do you think the biggest challenge facing MSPs is these days? Is it the pricing of the services, the complexity of the technology, or is it just finding the people with the skills to implement the service?
Yeah, I mean, I think we hit that up front. It's really, how do I differentiate my offering from the next guy? What is it that's unique about my offering that the other person's not selling today? And it's really then going to other business departments and showing the value to them in helping to manage the problems and the issues that they face on a daily basis. I would say grow beyond the IT and go to the line of business managers. Get them on your side, show them how your solution really helps them be better managers, more productive, increases customer service, and therefore revenue and productivity.
I want to jump back to the complexity issue for a minute. It seems to me, and I was wondering if you would see the same thing, but a lot of vendors are bundling some sort of managed service in with their individual product, but the customer wants a managed service for a solution set. So are you seeing more managed services that combine multiple products at the end of this? The product itself is a delivery of a managed service around a total solution, and as such, does analytics become a bigger value in that equation?
Yeah, I'll take one specific example, PCI compliance. Effective October 1st, there's some changes that pushes the liability of credit card fraud out to the end user retail companies. It's a little confusing, but some of the broadband service providers are providing not only the broadband for the PCI device, the credit card reading device, but along with that, compliance management and monitoring tools as a total bundled package, which really helps them make sure that they're not, holding the bag as far as liability is concerned. The new regulations push the burden on who has the least reliable component of the credit card chain, and whereas before it was the credit card credit card companies themselves, now it's becoming a problem for the retailers because they have to have these new PCI machines, the infrastructure to support that, and record keeping to confirm that they've made the effort as well as kept the PCI compliance current.
Do you think managed service providers have been overlooking analytics in general as a tool set or as a competitive tool, or just the cost of doing it was so high that they never bothered, or why haven't we seen more analytics before now?
I think the tools that were required to develop the feeds of information lived in different silos and weren't necessarily being developed concurrently. Now we're seeing a shift in that market where we have now have the ability to blend multiple sources of information, create bigger buckets of data, and you have the ability to parse that data in more meaningful ways. I think it's just the ability now to collect a lot more information and use it better in your business. I think I skipped over the pricing question. I just got a note passed to me here internally. So we do charge on a per device basis, and so it's really dependent on the individual user's world. But I don't want to get into specific pricing, but it's really end devices that are connected to the network that are being monitored, managed, and analyzed that drives our pricing model.
All right. I want to remind our audience to jump in and ask as many questions as they like. And with that, I'd like to also ask Mike, do you think that the smaller MSPs can compete against the larger ones, or are they going to get gobbled up, or how do you see that historic tension evolving between big and small MSPs these days?
Well, I think M&A activity in any industry today is inevitable, but we do have a lot of MSPs that are, just a few handful of people running the show and are using our product to add tremendous value. They can stand side by side with some of the big guys because they can offer the same set of services, and then sometimes even more of a personalized service because it's such a boutique type environment. But as smaller companies get that value, start getting customer bases based on that value, they become more interesting to larger targets. So I definitely see more M&A in that area.
Do you think managed service providers are also extending their reach? I mean, it used to be back in the day, your business was sort of limited to how far you could drive the truck and back in a day. Now, with managed services, it seems that you should be able to deliver those services anywhere, but is there other limitations around geography?
No, absolutely. We talked a little bit about that, but any cloud service really is open to any user on any IP device anywhere on the planet. So to the extent you have IP connectivity, it could be a constituent of our service offering, and to be able to be managed no matter where that user is located or where the MSP is located in monitoring and managing that user.
All right. Do you also think that the analytics itself is enabling MSPs to go further up the stack? It would seem to me most of the MSPs I know are very focused on the infrastructure versus applications. So as we go forward, are people going to be able to connect the dots between the infrastructure and the applications more aggressively to offer richer sets of managed services?
Yeah, we typically see MSPs that are either focused on security or focused on network performance monitoring and management. This really provides them a tool to go into either world seamlessly, quickly, and easily. So this really provides an open greenfield for those organizations that are focused in one area today, but are looking for ways to add additional value to their current offering. This gives them a view to, moving from a SIM-only offering to a network performance monitoring, or if you're doing only network performance monitoring, you now have security compliance through a single tool, while still maintaining and actually elevating your network performance management capabilities.
Cool. One of our attendees wants to know if your MSP-based product is as robust as a standalone product that an internal IT organization might deploy. And since I kind of know the answer, I'm chuckling a little bit, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's a difference. I mean, an end user and an MSP have the same level and same detail and same analytics that every customer has the same set of tools and capabilities. There's no differentiation currently.
But to that end, do you think that the performance monitoring tasks are going to get a little more federated as the world becomes more of a hybrid cloud? Do you think MSPs and customers are going to want to work a little bit more in concert with one another to monitor the performance of any given piece of infrastructure or application?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, customers have so many different vehicles now of accessing a business and talking to a business, whether it's through a chat window on the website, mobile phone, through social media. All of those touch some sort of network that need to be monitored and maintained, and customers have high expectations for those channels of interaction and communication. So to the extent that you can manage and maintain optimal performance, that's really going to equate to better customer service, better customer experience, and more predictable customer service and predictable customer experience, as well as your internal users needing those resources for doing their jobs. Can they get to the website that has all the information they need to share with the end customer about the problems they're trying to solve, or the sales tools that they need to close business or add an account into a system? All those touch networks that are critical to business operations today and are only going to grow in importance and requirements to manage and maintain.
So if you had your crystal ball out, and let's assume that you do, and you're looking down the road about a year out, what do you think the impact of analytics is going to be on managed services as a whole, and how do you perceive the managed services business will look like?
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to that Gartner survey, the Internet of Things scares people the most, both MSPs as well as individual end users, and not having the ability to manage and maintain that. So over the next year, it's only going to increase as that complexity grows. Multiple different devices then connected to the network that weren't expected only adds to the value of the analytics that you're using to monitor and maintain a network. The ability to quickly identify something that's coming onto your network that wasn't approved or that you weren't aware of, and make sure that you remediate that quickly and easily, all ties back to the analytics that we provide.
Is that a proactive conversation you have with the end customer, or is that just some feature set that shows up in the analytics one day in terms of the managed services that the customer discovers? I guess I'm trying to get a sense of how proactive you can be in selling analytics versus reactive and kind of just slipstreaming it in as you go along.
Well, I think analytics provides really robust reporting tools that you can take to a business owner without, complexity. You can show what the performance of the network was. You can show and have records of compliance towards standards. You can show compliance towards security needs, whether it's HIPAA or FISMA, FIPS. You've got the tools to then run reports that you could give to a business owner, an operations manager, or a sales manager, to show with analytics how deeply you've been able to cover that and maintain that. So I think that's one of the huge benefits that analytics drives, and also one of the stories that you want to tell to those end users and line of business managers beyond the IT folks, because they get it. It's really helping people outside of that organization understand the benefit analytics brings to them in, again, customer experience management, customer service, people's productivity, beyond the security, which in compliance kind of almost becomes table stakes now.
Great. Is there some subtlety in how you approach that conversation? Because, I mean, I guess where there is no internal IT organization, that's fine, but if you show up with analytics that suggests that maybe the internal IT organization is not as good as it might be, it could be a challenge. So how do you kind of have that conversation in a way that's not threatening?
Yeah, I think you help them see how it solves business problems for them and the pain points that they currently have. And then it's for them to help open a conversation with the IT department that maybe they weren't aware of these tools today, that they had at their potential fingertips, or that's maybe a conversation that the current provider isn't providing those tools that they need to run the business properly. But again, I would put it in language as to what are the pain points you're solving for those particular line of business managers, and anything that you think might be of relevance to their world.
All right, cool. I guess the next thing I would just say to you is, do you think that the number of managed services that each provider is going to offer is going to increase in the years ahead, or will they become more bundled as a full set and there might only be 3 or 4?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're seeing some little technical difficulties with the slides on our end.
Yeah, I'm kind of moving them through on my side because we're moving towards the end there, and I wanted to get your photo up there.
Oh, thanks. There I am.
Yeah. So to that question, let me rephrase it. I mean, is it going to be more services in smaller number of SKUs or more SKUs in general, do you think?
I don't know how to take it down to the SKU level. I would just say to the extent you can grow value within a business, become more engaged with what's driving their behavior, what is important to them, such as protecting the brand, making sure that they're engaging with their customers in a way that they expect to. It's really creating additional value beyond just hourly hands that help keep the wheels on the bus, but really more of a strategic relationship with the business in how you can help them meet the goals and exceed the goals that they're trying to achieve beyond just the IT shop. Again, I try to push people outside of the IT department into line of business in conjunction with the IT, because there's other stakeholders that have true business needs that aren't being met or may not being met, or that the IT department may not have considered, that could add value to give the IT department to go back to the sales, HR, help desk people with tools that they didn't have in the past, and really creates value for that IT leader as well, having those capabilities that they may not have had before.
Are CIOs driving the conversation with MSPs, or is it a lower level sell in the organization, or is it line of business, or who ultimately is the buyer?
Yeah, I see that shifting. I mean, sometimes you see even chief customer experience management personnel involved in those decisions. They need the tools to really understand how is my business performing in terms of my customers' expectations. So a lot of them are seeking us out, having conversations with us about how do our analytics help them with that. And again, you've got security offices that are focused on our SIM side of the business that may not have a view or want a view into the network performance side, and vice versa. You may have COOs looking at maintaining and managing the network, but don't have a view or want a view in the security side. So we're taking it up the stack as far as we can go to even to CEO levels, because you see these things like Target happening where the CEO is on the news at night. Those are the things that they want to avoid at any cost. It impacts the brand. It's costly to the business. It's embarrassing as a C-level. So I would keep the conversation across all the C stacks, but put it in terms that relate to what it is they're trying to accomplish. In terms of who's writing the final check, it's really changing. It's CTO, CIO is morphing into CMOs in some cases, or chief customer service officers. We're seeing that across all cloud service types today, where others are having a voice in that buying decision and getting budget for that, whether they use the IT department for that, or they go outside the IT department to bring that into the business. Things like Salesforce.com, for example, decision may have been made by a chief sales leader versus an IT department. So those all have to be included in the conversation that you're having with the business. And to the extent that you show value there, it's going to grow your relationship with that business and make it a stickier product.
To that end, then, I need multiple types of dashboards, one for a C-level person, one for maybe the IT organization, and one for, I don't know, maybe the developers or somebody else. So is that something you guys enable or encourage, or what should the MSP be presenting?
So we've got a number of reporting tools that have over 2,000 different elements that you can report on. These can be either pushed on a regular basis, done on an ad hoc, customized basis, but we've got a number of reporting tools that you could then put in a digestible format for whoever is going to be consuming that data to help them understand the value you're bringing to the business.
One of our attendees wants to know what kind of marketing collateral do you provide your partners to help them tell that story?
Well, that's kind of why I was brought on. I've been in the chair about 3 weeks. We have a number of tools available today, and we're only growing that. There's a tremendous need there. Obviously, to the extent you can get your channel partners up and productive quickly, the better for us as a business, and as well as the better for them. So that is something we're putting a high focus on, including honing the website to make it a little more easy to use and getting to the resources quickly for our channel partners. We have a number of stuff available today. We're doing a lot of field events with some of those folks, but we also have a number of tools that are under development with some new personnel that we just brought on board.
Earlier on, you talked about managed security service providers, and I wanted to know if you think is that going to continue to be a specialty, or does everybody have to be a managed security service provider now? Because it's almost gotten to the point where you can't sell anything without addressing the security issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make a quick answer to that question, but I can't see any environment where security is not going to be important. Again, if you're any sort of retail establishment where you're processing credit card information, have critical customer information that's very private, all of that is germane to almost any business today, no matter how big or how little. I can't see security not being an important factor of somebody running your network and the services that they offer.
Earlier on, one of our attendees talked about remediation, and I was hoping to take that conversation a little bit deeper. If I have the analytics in front of me, can I not then be proactive in the delivery of the service to prevent issues from occurring in the first place? And every time I do that, that really benefits my bottom line, because every call that comes in is really hurting my profitability at the end of the day. So maybe the name of the game with analytics is just to prevent the call in the first place.
That's a great point. I mean, we help you establish the baseline as well as any changes to that baseline. So those could be something that's very minor, but it also could be something extremely damaging to the business. But any of those events are going to be viewable on our dashboard to help you really identify the cause and remove that as a potential source for future issues.
And one of our attendees also wants to know if there's a mobile client, because I guess the IT staff that he has is in and out of the office all the time.
Yeah, that is coming in our November release. It is something we're very excited about. We'll have more information about that moving forward. But yes, that is a key component of our solution and a big need from our IT community as well as our security community to be productive on the road.
All right, and then here's our big final question. What is your best advice to managed service providers? You talk to them a lot in your job, and you see them all the time. So what is the one thing you've kind of seen historically from them that is a trend line that maybe they should all take into account and act on?
I would say stay ahead of what the market is doing in terms of security and impacts to the network. Add value through different discussions within the business as to how your solution helps multiple departments succeed. Not, again, go beyond the hourly wage for specific services and be more proactive in the information and solutions that you can provide to your end users. So really add value through true business problem solving capabilities with your offering.
Great. That's all we have time for today. I want to thank our speaker for sharing his knowledge, and I also want to plug our next webcast, which is Breaking Down the Sale, Taking the Wishing and Hoping Out of the Sales Process. Please sign up at thevarguide.com/webcast. I want to thank you all for attending, and I want to make sure that everybody got their questions answered. So if we didn't get to your question, we're going to be answering them via email as soon as we possibly can. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining us. My name is Mike Pizarro. I'm signing off, and have a great, prosperous channel day.
Thanks, Mike.